And they said, if we hit lights and sirens, don't follow us, fast. I didn't know if he had lived or died.
It was a Saturday night. We had gone out on a date, had a wonderful evening. And when I got home, I just didn't feel well at all. And then very quickly, it escalated into what appeared to be a terrible stomach virus. It was actually the onset of septic shock. And I fought with that all night. And in the morning, it was evident to Dawn that I was not well. And she wanted to take me to the emergency room. I couldn't even get myself up and get to the car. So she called an ambulance, and that's how I wound up in the hospital.
For you at that moment, how do you experience this? You receive a call, you're watching your husband being not well, and what do you do there?
I was terrified because he had been up all night, a lot of vomiting, diarrhea, fever. I asked him, do you want to go to the hospital? He said, no, I think I've just got a bad virus. And so he said, we'll wait, we'll go in the morning. So the next morning, I wake up, he's disoriented, he doesn't know where he's at, and I was very scared. So I called the ambulance, and they came and picked him up at the house. They said his blood pressure is so low, we can't take him to one of the larger hospitals. We're going to have to take him to the closest hospital. And they said, if we hit lights and sirens, don't follow us, fast. They said we have to get there quickly, just drive and come to the emergency room and they'll take you back to him. And they did. They just left, and the whole way there, I didn't know if he had lived or died. When we got to Winston-Salem, to Baptist Atrium Health Hospital, they told us, they said he has necrotizing fasciitis. It's a flesh-eating bacteria. And I said, are you talking about the stuff that we see on TV? And they said, yes, pretty much. And I said, is this common? And they said, no, it's not common, but we do see a lot of it because we're equipped to handle it. And so over the next few hours, they took him back to surgery immediately. When I first got there, they took 70% off the skin and the fascia off of his arm. It's actually a fascia-eating bacteria, so it doesn't really eat muscle, but they have to get it off so that the bacteria is not in your system. And he went in for a 2-hour surgery. It turned into 5 hours. And then the next morning, they said, we're going to have to do another surgery. So they took more skin off of his hand and his palm. And by the third day, they said, it's still there. We're going to have to amputate his arm. So those were the first 3 days. And that second day, I stood in the shower and I just watched the water go down the drain. And I prayed and I said, God, what am I going to do? I don't know where things are. We haven't talked about this. This was not something I was expecting. And I stood there for what seemed like forever, and I said, you know, God, you called me into the ministry, you called me to the mission field, and if Steve dies, because there was a very real possibility that he would, I said, I will sell everything we have, and I will go wherever you ask me to go, and I'll be faithful. And from that minute on, it was like I could feel God picking me up under my arms and just carrying me down the hall at the hospital, walking with me, sitting next to me. It was like he was always there. And so every day was absolutely incredible, but not every day was wonderful, but he was there with me. But they told me, they said, you know, we need your permission to do this surgery, the next surgery, every surgery. I signed for it, and I told them, I said, I don't care if you get my husband back in bits and pieces, I just want him back. And if they have to take his arm or whatever comes next, then we do what we have to keep him alive, because he's only 48. They were a little bit shocked because they said most family members don't want to have to make a decision to amputate their loved ones' arms, legs, whatever. And I said, I just want him to live. I just want him back with me. And I knew with the quality of life that he would have, it would be good. And I've seen other amputees go through this, and it's hard. It was all hard, but I knew that we had to work quickly to get him better, because he was on a path where his health was like this and he wasn't improving. And once they took off his arm, his health improved. The pressors that kept him alive, the blood pressure medicine that kept his blood pressure high enough so that he didn't go into cardiac arrest, also shuts down your extremities. So his feet started to turn black, his fingers turned black, his thumb, and they said, it's likely we're going to have to remove those. I said, do what you have to do to keep him alive. And so in all, I think he had 12, 13 surgeries.
There's something very important here, and is you're going through all of this, and a close circle of people know what's going on, but that close circle was not a small circle anymore. People start hearing about this, and miraculously and in God's providence, more and more people start praying for you. I'm assuming that you probably have very little recollection of what was going because of medications, but do you remember people praying for you? Do you have moments of clarity that you remember that were important for you and for you as well?
Yes, I was admitted to the hospital December 7th, and the last thing I remember was being brought into the operating room and a mask being put over my face. And then I woke up New Year's Eve. I woke up alone in a room that was dark. The television was on, and it was the countdown to the ball drop. So that's how I date that with certainty. And I woke up with no arm. I woke up with no feet. My hand was bandaged, so I didn't have any way to know how bad that was. But I didn't remember anything leading up to that. So this moment was just a total shock. It was so abrupt. In that moment, there was a nurse that I'd never met. I couldn't even see her in the darkness of the room, but she came in and she wrapped her arms around my head and she prayed for me. And in that moment of prayer, that moment of kindness, that's when the peace of God began to work in my heart. It took some time to bring me nearer to a knowledge of where he would go with all of this. But in that moment, that was the most comforting, kind thing that anyone has ever done, was to pray for me in my time of deep distress of the soul.
You are often in the hospital trying to find out what's going on, and all of a sudden your phone rings. Can you tell us more about what happened?
Yes. So initially, I was there with one friend. We were leaving to go on a mission trip to Kenya the following Monday after he was admitted into the hospital. And obviously that didn't happen. So people started to come from my mission team, and they're like, we were going to be in Kenya with you, but now the mission's changed. It's about Steve. So people started to come. People came from our church. They came from friends from high school, all over, and they filled the waiting room. And I love people. I'm very extroverted, and it just blessed my heart to have all these people around. And people started, they were coming to be there, and I said, if you're here, please just come back with me and pray for Steve. And I had a friend to call me, and she said, I wonder if you have considered setting up an account with somebody like GiveSendGo. And I said, I don't even know what that is. But she said a lot of Christians use it, pastors use it for mission trips, families use it to adopt children, lots of different reasons. And I said, I guess I'm happy to do that. And she said, I'll do it for you. I will help you with it. And she said, and that was the beginning of like knowing who you guys were. And so the beginning of that was Brittany took care of that. And then probably a day and a half later, you called me and you introduced yourself. And I'm just in a stupor because that's the exact moment that Steve was going back to the operating room to have his arm removed. It meant so much that you called. And you said, can I pray for you? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And you said, what can I pray for? I said, well, they're about to amputate my husband's arm. You prayed this wonderful prayer, and I'm in this room for the ICU patients, and it's all my friends, and they're all around me. And I hung up, and they said, who was that? I said, that was GiveSendGo. And they're like, really? And I said, they just called to pray for me. And it meant so much. And you said, well, I hope later on down the road we'll talk some more. And so here we are. But we continued to be covered by people all around the world who came to my Facebook page. And they went to the GiveSendGo page, and they texted me, and people that I met on international mission trips from all around the world, and everybody wanted to pray for Steve. And the message was growing. And over the course of 4 months, I had 1,500 new friends on Facebook because people wanted to get the story straight from my posts. And it was overwhelming, but to watch that unfold and to watch God minister to all of us, but at the same time, just put this out there for other people. And then they started telling me their story about how they were being helped and their relationship with God, or with their family's relationship with God, was changing for the better. And it was incredible. I've never seen anything like it in my whole 30-year ministry.
Pastor Steve, if you were to put words to what now you know, after all that you went through, about the power of prayer and the immense power of generosity, that people that have never met you, just by seeing what you were going through, were moving their hearts to bless you with their finances. And a time when everybody tries to just keep whatever they can and collect more and live a better life, and at this point they're seeing you guys' suffering and your trial, and they're moved and they're just giving. What it meant for you guys to see all of these people coming around you and just blessing you?
A lot of that built up while I was unconscious. And so when I became aware of it, it was already a large number of people were praying. And so Dawn would read me posts from people who said, I'm nearer to the Lord because of what you've experienced, and I'm praying for you. And so for me, it wasn't a thing that grew. It just, I stepped into it. But I should have died. The doctor didn't think I would live. And thousands of people prayed for me. And I believe God answers prayer. I believe He's a God who's listening. He wants us to pray for each other. He wants us to pray for the kingdom. He wants us to pray for the lost. And I believe that I am the beneficiary of thousands of prayers. And God answered those. And then when I found out also that people were willing to give toward our future needs, because we will have them, I was so moved that the people that didn't know me, people I'd never met, would give so that I could get back to life and back to preaching the gospel. It was overwhelming. I was so thankful for primarily their friendship and prayers, but then also for those gifts they gave. A lot of them were small gifts, but those add up. Mm-hmm. And so their gifts enabled me to get back to my church, back to preaching, back to teaching, back to writing, advancing the kingdom. And I'm so grateful.
if I might get into your heart now, you wake up, you have a moment, you have your right arm taken off, then your legs, you cried, but it doesn't stop there. What happens after that realization? What happens after that moment, that prayer from that nurse?
In the days afterward, I was very sick. I was very injured, in a lot of pain. But as it improved over time, and as I got out of the fog that I was in, I had to decide what I was going to do with my life. If I was going to allow anger and bitterness and hurt to destroy me, or if I was going to fully trust that there's nothing that happens outside of God's sovereignty. And when we talk about the gospel, often we talk about Jesus saving us from our guilt, our sin. And that's certainly true. But He's also saving us from the effects of sin in the world. I mean, the world is fallen, and we get sick and bad things happen. And this is a function of that. I'm a testimony to that. And if I believe those things about God, then it's time to get up and get moving. And He gave me the grace to do that. So afterward was rehab. And I went from lying on my back, unable to roll over, unable to sit up, to I went home 6 weeks after that. I walked out of rehab on my own 2 feet.
When Steve woke up, I listened to a song, and it talked about how God is making everything new. And I thought, that is our life. We were who we were, living our life, doing our thing, both doing ministry for a very long time. And God was making everything new in us. He made Steve new. It's not better, it's not worse. It's not, this is beautiful or this is ugly, whatever. It was just new. Everything was new. And when God makes all things new, He makes them better. He makes them beautiful.
Many people, for many reasons, have given up. Or they often said, I feel like I don't have anything else. Or perhaps they think, God's punishing me, for things that I've done. I'm not deserving God's grace and mercy. And they may translate what we're speaking about here like, oh, that happened to you, but those things don't happen to people like us in our situation because of how we grew up. What can you share with those who are giving up, that perhaps are not going anywhere near of anything that you face, that by the grace of God you've overcome?
I would say that having been there, I know firsthand that God will meet you in that if you'll open your heart. And His grace is sufficient. It is enough. It is all we need. It's more than we need. Because God loves each and every one of us. And if we will open our hearts in repentance and faith, trust Him, He will walk with us through anything we're experiencing here on earth, and one day He'll walk us all the way home, to the home that He's prepared for us. And that was the hope I had. I could have given up. I certainly felt like it many times, but when God met me there in that moment, He stayed with me, and He's walked with me through all of this. And I can tell that person that if you rely on Christ and you trust Him, He'll meet you there, and He will walk you through it.
I don't think if I had to go back to the 6th of December and God asked me, do you want to go through this or do you not? I think if I could see the outcome where we're at today, I would still say, yes. I can't imagine. It's been awful. It's been so hard, but I can't imagine not going through this to see the power and the presence of God in the way that we've seen Him. I don't think we would be in this situation at all if we didn't have friends and family and our church and you guys just helping us every step of the way.
over 30 years ago, I gave my whole life to Christ. That it's all His. If He's my Lord, then it's all His. And if He wants an arm and 2 legs and some fingertips for His glory, it meant that everything I am, everything I have, everything I desire, it's all submitted to His authority. And He's Lord. And I freely gave myself to Him, and He's never cashed in yet, but He took an arm and 2 legs and some fingertips. And if that magnifies His gospel, if that story, and it has reached thousands of people and inspired them with the goodness and the grace of God, I would freely give that.
I would just say thank you. Thank you for what you do, because it really matters in times of hardships like what we've had. But I know I've also gone on and looked at other people's stories, and they want to adopt a baby and they need some help financially, or a pastor wants to go on sabbatical, or people are going on mission trips. There's all these great and wonderful things that are happening.
I wasn't aware of any of this until it had already materialized. And to know that you called my wife and you prayed for me just before I went in to have my arm amputated, that in that moment, somebody from GiveSendGo reached out with the love of Christ, with a sincere desire to bless, and prayed with her and comforted her. What a gift that is. And for you to do that, for the team to operate an organization that exists purely to bless. Our family's experienced that, and I was so thankful to hear that she didn't have to face that moment alone. And I continue to do very well, and I have hope. I have prosthetics, I have good health, I've got my family, I've got the ministry God gave me. I have reason for joy. And people prayed, and people gave, and now I am back in my church, I'm back to life, and I'm going to be okay. And I am so grateful.
Thank you for watching our video. This was possible, this story you just watched was possible because of the incredible generosity of GiveSendGo. I also want to say thank you to the Hope team that daily calls people, day after day, with different kinds of trials going on, and they just serve people regardless of their context. Thank you for being a part of GiveSendGo.